Picture a man who is told he cannot cry at his own wife's funeral. Not because he doesn't love her. Because God asked him not to. This is the story of Ezekiel, a priest who lost everything he was trained for, and became the one man God trusted to carry his grief in his own body. He would lie on the ground for over a year. He would go silent for 3. And in a valley of dry bones, he would ask God the only question that matters when everything looks finished: can this still live? Stay with us to the end. The last vision God gave this man is still being fulfilled today. Before we dive deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. He should have been in Jerusalem. Ezekiel was born into the priestly line, trained from childhood to serve in the one temple God had chosen on earth. Instead, at 30 years old, the age he should have begun his life's work, he was sitting in the dirt beside a canal in Babylon, one face among 10,000 Israelites dragged out of their homeland in chains. Then the sky tore open. He saw a storm rolling in from the north, and inside it, 4 living beings, each with 4 faces and wings that moved like lightning. Wheels beside them, rimmed with eyes that saw in every direction. Above it all, a throne, and on the throne, a figure wrapped in light like a rainbow after rain. Ezekiel fell face down in the dirt. A voice spoke. Not gentle. Not comforting. Son of man, stand on your feet. Something entered him and pulled him upright, and God gave him the job no one wants: go to a people who will not listen, and tell them the truth anyway. Then came a scroll, covered in words of grief on both sides. God told him to eat it. It tasted like honey. That detail matters. The hardest assignment of his life, delivering a message no one wanted to hear, still came to him sweet. Obedience didn't feel bitter going down. That would come later. God didn't just give Ezekiel words to speak. He gave him a body to spend. He was told to lie on his left side, facing a model of Jerusalem under siege, for over a year, 1 day for every year of his people's sin. Then on his right side for 40 more days. He shaved his head with a sword and divided the hair into 3 parts: burned, scattered, struck down, because that hair was Jerusalem, acted out in miniature before the real siege ever began. For more than a year, Ezekiel's neighbors walked past him lying in the dirt in front of his own house. No explanation. No relief. Just a man whose body had become a walking warning that no one wanted to read. Imagine carrying a truth so heavy that your whole life becomes the way you say it. That is what obedience cost him. Then came the hardest command of all. God told him plainly, within a day, the delight of his eyes would be taken from him. That evening, Ezekiel's wife died. And God asked him not to mourn her publicly, no tears, no visible grief, so that his silence would become the sign of a nation about to lose everything they loved without being allowed to grieve it either. His neighbors finally asked the question they should have asked years earlier: what does this have to do with us? He told them, the temple you're proud of, the thing you assume God will always protect, it's about to fall, the same way my wife fell, and you won't be given the comfort of easy tears either. This is one of the most human moments in the whole Bible. Not because God is cruel, but because he was letting his prophet feel, in his own chest, exactly what Israel's unfaithfulness was about to cost. Grief shared is easier to carry than grief explained. God didn't just tell Ezekiel what was coming, he let him live it first. In a vision, Ezekiel was lifted up and carried to Jerusalem. His body stayed in Babylon, but his eyes saw the temple as it truly was, leaders in hidden rooms burning incense to idols, whispering the Lord does not see us, while God stood in the room with them the entire time. Then Ezekiel watched the unthinkable. The glory of God, the visible presence that had lived above the ark for generations, rose up from the temple. It paused at the threshold, as if reluctant. It moved to the east gate. And then it left the city altogether, resting on the mountain outside. God walked out of his own house. But even here, he said something to the exiles that changes the whole shape of the story. Though I have scattered you among the nations, I have been a sanctuary for you, wherever you have gone. He didn't leave his people behind in Jerusalem. He was already with them, in exile, in the place that felt furthest from anything holy. If your life right now doesn't feel like the life you were meant to have, he is not waiting for you somewhere else. He goes where you go. Years later, after Jerusalem finally fell and the exiles had given up all hope, God set Ezekiel down in a valley covered with bones, dry, scattered, long dead. Son of man, can these bones live? Ezekiel had learned enough by then not to answer with certainty or despair. Sovereign Lord, only you know. He was told to speak to the bones. And as he spoke, they came together, bone to bone, tendons, flesh, skin. Still no breath. Still no life. Then he was told to call for breath from the four winds, and it came, and the valley that had been a graveyard stood up as a living army. God explained it plainly, these bones are the whole house of Israel. They say our hope is gone, we are cut off. I am going to open your graves and bring you up from them. Whatever in your life currently feels like dry bones, a relationship, a dream, a season you assumed was over, this is not a promise that everything stays easy. It's a promise that dead is not the same as done. In his final vision, Ezekiel saw the glory of God returning, coming back from the east, the same direction it had left from, filling a new temple. Then he saw water flowing out from beneath it. A guide led him into the stream, and it rose, ankles, knees, waist, until it was deep enough to swim in. It flowed into the Dead Sea, the saltiest, most lifeless water on earth, and where it touched, the sea came alive. Fish returned. Fruit trees grew on the banks, with leaves for healing. Centuries later, a man would stand up in Jerusalem during a festival and say, "Let anyone who is thirsty come to me and drink." The river Ezekiel saw was never just water. It was a promise that nothing, not exile, not grief, not the deadest thing you know, is outside the reach of restoration. Ezekiel spent his life carrying things no one wanted to carry, a message no one wanted to hear, a grief he wasn't allowed to show, a hope no one believed in anymore. And still, at the end of his story, it's not the bones or the siege that God leaves us with. It's a river, flowing out from the presence of God, healing the deadest water on earth. If you felt cut off, forgotten, or like your story has already ended, this is your reminder that the same God who walked out of the temple is the God who came back. Tell us in the comments, Which part of Ezekiel's story moved you most? And if this story stirred something in you, subscribe to join us for next week's story, where we follow a river that became a resurrection.